Hello, today we're going to be talking a little bit about anthropology and more specifically the 5 subfields of anthropology. So maybe you're taking an intro to anthropology class like I was at the beginning of this quarter and are a little overwhelmed by all of the information coming through. So hopefully by this end of this video, it helps you to better understand the subfields and how they are applied to come together all under the umbrella of anthropology. So the five fields would be archaeology, cultural anthropology, biological anthropology, linguistic anthropology, and applied anthropology. So we'll just jump right into it and go to, we'll start with archaeology. So admittedly, I think I placed archaeology and paleontology together and thought they were kind of the same thing before I started this class. So I've since learned that archaeologists are kind of like detectives who dig in the past to uncover clues about how different people lived in different areas. So they focus on material things like tools, pottery, and bones. And it's actually really cool that they can piece them together and kind of tell a story about what was happening during those times when those artifacts were found. They ask questions like, how did people live in this certain area? How did they use the land around them? What happened to this society over time? So all of their findings help them to answer these questions. And there was a famous archaeologist named Kathleen Kenyon, and she excavated at Jericho, and she was able to find ancient structures and burial sites. And she, through these discoveries, argued that Jericho was the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. And so while a lot of archaeologists look at the older societies, that some look also at modern societies. So there's a garbage project in Tucson, Arizona, where they go to the landfill and kind of dig through the trash to see what's there. So they found that what people say that they recycle and what they find in the landfill are very different. And what this shows is the importance of finding a better way to dispose of waste and take care of our environment. So archaeologists, they dig through the past to discover how people live, but also they're digging through modern day cultures as well. Moving on to cultural anthropology. So this uses a more humanistic approach to better understand behaviors, beliefs, and society. So cultural anthropologists, they study how people live and how we interact in different societies. So in order to do this, they have to put aside their cultural norms, basically to understand people without judgments, which can be tricky. In the beginning, I think that would be a really big challenge because, you grow up thinking what things are the norm, and you might be a little turned off by what other people are doing. But it's really important in cultural anthropology. And they don't just learn by observing different societies, they actually immerse themselves in them and participate in them while they're doing their observations. And they kind of study things like nature versus nurture. So is being a good mother something that's taught, or is it something that you're just born with? Those are things that cultural anthropologists are going to learn about and research. So while they recognize that different areas bring a lot of differences in people, there's also a lot of similarities with us. And there was a famous cultural anthropologist named Margaret Mead, and she studied teenagers in both the US and in Samoa. And she found that US teenagers were more Um, they were often stressed out, while teenagers in Samoa seemed happier and more relaxed. And she wrote a book about it called Coming of Age in Samoa, which I actually read. It was a really interesting read. And her argument was that teenagers, how they're raised is more important than their biology, which again is the nature versus nurture, or I guess the way that that's said is nurture versus nature. So I highly recommend her book. It was really a really good, interesting read. The next category we'll go under is the biological anthropology. So it's studying how humans evolved and how we differ from one another. So a biological anthropologist is going to look at monkeys and apes and see how they're similar and different to us, both in behavior and also physically. And they also focus on ancient human species like Neanderthals. They ask questions like, what did they look like? What did they eat? How did they communicate? When and how did they begin talking? And some biological anthropologists also study modern humans to understand, like, why are some of us lactose intolerant? Why do we have gluten allergies? Why do we have different skin colors? So they kind of study across the board with primates, humans, past and present. The next subcategory or subfield would be linguistic anthropology, which is all about how we understand how languages shape human life and culture. So animals and primates have ways to communicate, but humans are the only one that allows us to like teach, think, and plan abstractly. And in the reading, I found that humans have over 6,000 complex symbolic languages, which is kind of overwhelming and incredible at the same time to think of, like 6,000. And so a linguistic anthropologist is going to ask questions like how the language first started, how has it changed and evolved over time, how does it affect our thoughts and behaviors. And a famous linguistic anthropologist, Benjamin Ward, he noticed that the Hopi language doesn't have tenses like the English language does, so they don't talk about something that happened in the past or something that will happen in the future. They talk whether something has manifested, and he believed that it influenced how English and Hopi speakers think about time. And his hypothesis suggests that language shapes the way we think. Not everybody agrees with this idea, but I think it's definitely a really interesting theory. And thinking about something manifest, I don't know, it just feels more positive to me. So I like that way of thinking. The final under this umbrella would be applied anthropology. And that's how, basically how all of these categories we went under, how we're putting those anthropological practices, how we're putting them forward to solve real problems. So an applied archaeologist might be hired by a construction company to assess if an archaeological site find in a project is important or not. You might hire a cultural anthropologist working in applied anthropology to help a technology company better understand how people use their products and how we can make them better. Paul Farmer was both a doctor and an anthropologist, and he used anthropology training to understand the social and historical context of health issues in places like Haiti. And he founded a nonprofit organization called Partners in Health to provide health care for poor countries and train the local staff. So there's many different ways that you can apply anthropology to real life that I think before taking this course, I didn't realize how immersed life is in anthropology. So it's all about, applied anthropology is all about using anthropology to make the world a better place. So I hope this video helped make sense of the subfields, and I wish you luck in your course.